This week we've got some incredible new mods to look at, including some really fun throwbacks, some classics, not old mods, but mods that bring back some old things from Fallout, as well as some completely new designs that are so cool that they just got me really excited, especially the first mod we're checking out this week, which is going to be known as Remnants, a super mutant mech armor by Selakii. This is going to add a new, gigantic super mutant mech armor. Now, I'm not actually entirely sure if this is intended to be an armor for super mutants, or a robot that is just using the super mutant rig for animations. Physically, in-game, of course, it is an armor that can be worn by super mutants. That is how you can actually use this set. But in terms of how it's supposed to actually be seen or visualized, it doesn't look like something that could actually be worn, especially the helmet piece. It actually looks more like a big robot. So I'm not actually 100% sure, but whatever it is, it's really, really cool. This new gigantic armored heavy suit is going to be a completely new design based off of some Enclave pieces that are found in the Rascal Arts Remnants mod. Using some of those assets, we get a really cool new set of armor for super mutants that adds a nice, bulky, black, sleek set that doesn't even look like there's a super mutant underneath, which is kind of why I said what I said previously. As a matter of fact, with closer inspection, the legs look like there couldn't be anything biological inside, as it's mostly made of pipes and big tubes, so I think the idea is that this is supposed to be a big mech or robot of some sort, but if you want to use it, you put it on a super mutant. Now, if you play this mod correctly and don't cheat in the items, you're going to find this thing on an enemy. You head over to 4-leaf fish packing plant, and one of these guys will be there, so it's going to be a pretty tough fight, as this is going to be a pretty big, beefy enemy. But once you kill them, ignoring the fact that it's a super mutant, you can take the armor off and you can put it onto any super mutant companion, and now you have a nice robot mech companion that isn't something from Automatron. Now, with how cool this armor is, I absolutely love looking at it, especially the big glowing eyeballs on the helmet. I would really like to see this as maybe a bit more integrated. Right now, my favorite thing to do with it so far is to put it on a companion, whether that's strong or a modded in super mutant companion. You can easily equip these armors to them, and now you have a really cool mech that takes guns instead of just arm attachments like Automatron companions. But what I would love to see is more integration into the world. What we have now is going to be a single enemy that has this armor, which works fine, but I would love to see even more. It'd be really cool to see super mutants everywhere wearing this armor set. Now, I don't want them integrated into regular super mutant lists because that would be kind of out of place, but theoretically, another super mutant leveled list that is going to be just this enemy with just this armor type. Maybe even if you take the armor, the body disappears, I don't know, something cool like that, so that it just feels like you're fighting a bunch of big robots from the Enclave, maybe hidden around in the glowing sea or some bunkers or something. Even still though, the integration that we have is already pretty nice. Having at least one enemy to fight with this thing is pretty cool, so that means you do get to see it in action before you take it, so that is nice. Overall, a really cool armor set. Again, it's bordering this weird line of this is a new companion versus this is an armor set, because it is an armor set. Like I said, physically you throw this onto a super mutant, but it transforms into something completely new, almost like it was an Automatron DLC add-on, but it's not. So that's pretty cool. Very, very interesting one. It is going to require the Remnants Enclave mod by Rascal Art, but that's not a problem whatsoever because that mod is fantastic. So if you want to check this thing out, it will be linked down in the description below, along with every other mod we'll talk about in this video. Now we're moving on to some of the classics, starting off with one that's sort of a hybrid. This is going to be the classical Power Fist by Mr. Mobius, or BlaineMobius. This is going to be a recreation of the Power Fist, but with a bit of a tweak to the design. So this is almost like a new Power Fist, but classic, but not. It's pretty interesting. It has a very retro design, has a huge fusion core and a nice little glass casing, and I think that looks so cool. And it has a bunch of head attachments that allow you to change out the different kinds of damages you do with this weapon. And the visual aesthetic of this thing is really cool. It has a nice bright orange, and some of the attachments look so cool that I just kind of fell in love with this thing immediately. We've been watching BlaineMobius for quite some time, making different mods, and this is by far one of my favorites they've released. They're getting better and better, and this one is awesome. It's honestly pretty rare that we get a nice melee or unarmed mod, so having this in the collection is really, really cool. This might be something that actually gets added as a permanent addition to my load order. We already have the Power Fist in the base game. This is sort of a step up from that, with some really cool attachments that are going to really add some benefits to the damage of this thing, including my favorite, which is going to be the heating pad, which is essentially a big stovetop coil that has some big cords hanging off the side of this thing. The aesthetic of that looks so cool, so Fallout. I really, really like it. If you want to get your hands on this weapon, it actually is added to the level list, can be found on raiders. You can purchase it from vendors, or you can even craft it at the chemistry station, so it can be found all over the place. The aesthetic and the balance of this thing make it a huge winner in my book. This thing was handcrafted in every single way, not only the way that it looks, but also the way that it functions in-game. If you're a fan of lore-friendly mods and you're looking for more stuff to add to your load order, this is definitely one I would consider. It's a really, really good one, and if you want to check out more stuff like this, you can check out BlaineMobius' profile for even more fun lore-friendly mods. Now, the next mod we're checking out is known as the New Vegas Grenade Pack and Old World Add-on Project by JVL7. Now, this is going to be a big pack of grenades from New Vegas. Pretty simple, it's right there in the title, but what's really important about this is it's a tease of what we're going to be getting from this team. The Old World Add-on Project team is going to be adding all kinds of things from the different Fallout games. I've seen a lot coming out over in work-in-progress pictures, but not too many things have been released. This is going to be the first of many, and quite frankly, it's a good precedent. Some of the armors and weapons I've seen being teased are absolutely incredible. AAA quality stuff. And now we get a little bit of a taste of that. It's going to be in the form of a grenade pack that adds some really fun classic ones, including the fragmentation grenades, the plasma grenades, stun grenades, incendiary grenades, and the pulse grenades. If you've played New Vegas at all and its DLCs, then you should be familiar with some of these. Some of them might feel redundant, like the frag grenades and the plasma grenades, but they actually have been renamed, so they have a different name than the vanilla ones, and their stats are going to be a bit different as well, so that's going to help quite a bit. Some, however, are going to be a bit different, like the incendiary grenade and stun grenades are going to have completely different effects than you'll see in the vanilla game. The incendiary grenade might sound like a fancy flashbang. The incendiary grenade might sound like a fancy Molotov, but it's not quite the same. It actually has a delayed explosion, it's not going to explode on impact, which might make it a little bit more useful than the vanilla one. It also has a bit more damage, making it pretty dang cool. The stun grenade is basically a flashbang. It works just like it did in the Lonesome Road DLC. If you use this thing, you're going to be blinded by a pretty big radius, so try to throw it far away from you and more towards the enemies. Now, all of these are going to be scattered all around the wasteland, added to the level list, so you'll actually find these things on enemies. They will be using them against you, so watch out for that. The new frag grenade will start spawning at level 10, the new plasma grenade will start spawning at level 20, the pulse grenade at 14, the incendiary grenade at 13, and the stun grenade at level 18. All over the place, but really, really cool. Add some nice variety that will start coming in at different points in the game, which is always appreciated by me. Like I said previously, this is only a little taste of what the Old World Modding Project has to offer. There's some really big stuff coming, and it's going to be fantastic. So hopefully we see some more of that stuff dropping sometime soon, because man, I cannot wait to cover it. It is really, truly fantastic stuff. Now, the next mod we're checking out is a very simple one, but one that is very, very fun. We're checking out the Almighty 4-Bore by DMagnus. Now, DMagnus has been making mods for quite some time, but this one's really cool. It might seem like a pretty simple shotgun. It's rigged to the double-barrel shotgun animations, but it's not. It's a 4-bore rifle, shooting a very, very large single projectile. This thing looks fantastic. It has really, really awesome models and textures, a ton of different matte swaps so you can change out how it looks, but also just the quality of everything looks really, really nice. Everything's crisp and clean, the textures look amazing, the engravings are awesome, and it's a lot of fun to use. Again, it might seem simple, it's got the double barrel animations on it, but it looks really, really nice, especially considering you're firing a single bullet. Not a shotgun shell, but a bullet. This thing really does pack a wallop. Pretty much anything you shoot with this thing is going to be taking a hefty amount of damage, and it has no problem one-shotting simple enemies like ghouls and raiders. It's got a pretty big boatload of attachments over at the weapons workbench, quite a lot of things you can add to this weapon, so that's quite nice. And of course, like I said, a bunch of different matte swaps, different materials for both the woods and the metals. You can customize this thing to your liking, which is always a plus in my book as well. Now, when it comes to integration for this weapon, it's pretty interesting. This is a one-of-a-kind weapon, so sort of a unique, and it can be found over in the Boylston Club. Once you head in there, you'll find this weapon locked up in a display case. Now, this does make use of its own custom ammo type, which is the 4-bore ammo, and if you want to get your hands on that, well, for starters, it actually has a good bit of it found in a master-locked safe elsewhere in Boylston Club. You'll have to do some searching, but once you find the safe, you'll be able to get some ammo for this weapon. I think that's a really cool integration. It's honestly pretty immersive. A weapon locked up behind a case in a nice club like this, and if you want to get ammo for it, it's in a safe. Nice and safe, but still usable if there were an intruder. Pretty interesting. Now, once you've gathered this weapon, though, you can craft more ammo over at the chemistry station in the utility section. That way you can have more ammo because it's going to be a pretty limited supply from that safe. Once you're there, you can also craft even more of the rifle in case you do want more. What's really interesting about this crafting recipe is in order to make more of this weapon, you actually have to have the original copy, so you're not going to be able to make this thing out of the gate. Once you've found the original, you can then duplicate it at the chemistry bench. Once you craft it, you'll take your one gun and turn it into 2, but it's also going to require rank 4 in gun nut and rank 1 of rifleman. Pretty interesting way to go about this. I of course would love to see some level-less integration. I wouldn't mind seeing this on some really high level raiders, but this is honestly a pretty interesting way to do it as well. A unique weapon that not many people are going to have access to, as this is going to be a pretty rare rifle in general, and the ability to recreate it if you have the original to base it off of. Pretty interesting and a cool way to integrate crafting. Typically I don't love the chemistry bench option when it comes to making weapons, but this way is pretty interesting and unique, and I hope that other people might take this as a sort of role model when it comes to making their crafting patches in the future. Overall, a really fun weapon, one that's honestly super fun to use. I like this thing quite a bit. I love big heavy rifles, and I always have, so this thing is definitely going to be making a really nice addition to my game. And finally, we're checking out a mod that has come out some time ago, but I'm barely getting around to covering. It's known as Fatigues Extended, Military Outfits and Reinforcement Abilities by Nutulator. Now, initially, this mod just add a handful of different little military armors that look really cool. Honestly, if you're using something like the Gunner Outfit Pack, then you might like the aesthetic of this quite a bit, because it's pretty reminiscent of that. It uses a lot of vanilla assets with green colorings to make some new armor sets that are beyond the standard military fatigues in the base game. But since this mod has come out, there's been quite a few changes and additions that make this mod truly wonderful. Not only are you going to be getting 5 outfits, including some different helmets and hats, you're also going to be getting a pretty fun reinforcement ability to call in some military-style troops to aid you, sort of like you would in the vanilla game with Minutemen. Now, when it comes to the outfits, you're going to get the Special Forces Incursion Fatigues, the Officer's Combat Fatigues, Ammunition Carrier Fatigues, Communication Officer Fatigues, and a Combatant's Cap, because, you know, you need a hat. It's basically the McCready cap, but still, pretty cool. But, like I said, we're also going to be getting some new abilities thanks to the updates in this mod, including the ability to summon in different squads with the flare gun, including the Infantryman Team, a 4-man fire team armed with fully automatic combat and assault rifles and frag grenades, and wearing all of the armors in this pack. We also have the ability to summon in Commandos, which are going to be Special Forces Commandos with submachine guns. That's going to be pretty interesting. Mechanized Shock Troops, which aren't even going to use any armors from this mod, but instead have miniguns and Gauss rifles, and they're going to be using T-51B power armor with the green paint job. So honestly, that fits pretty well. It kind of mixes the mod with the vanilla game and the lore of the military in Fallout. We have the support troops that you can call in, which is just going to be 2 squads with targeting missile launchers. So not a whole squad, but just 2 men to come back you up with missile launchers who can really help you out with tougher enemies. Then finally, we have the conscripts, whose sole purpose is taking a position with sheer numbers, armed with mediocre weapons and armor. Unlike other squads, they can die. So apparently the other squads you can call in are completely invincible, but the conscripts have a whole bunch of them and they die immediately. If you want to dismiss them, you can talk to the conscript leader to get rid of them. Now here's where things get interesting. You can call in all of these squads at the same time. I don't think you can call in multiples at the same time, so you can't have 2 sets of infantrymen, but you can call in 1 of each, basically making a standing army that you can roll around the Commonwealth with. So that's interesting. Every one of these squads has their own unique flare gun that can be crafted, and ammo for it can be crafted over at the chemistry station. So if you want to get your hands on any of these guys, you're going to have to make all that stuff over at the chemistry station in the new category known as reinforcement flares. All of this combined with the new armors that they'll be wearing whenever you call them in is honestly a really cool package. It was already something I wanted to check out with just the armors, honestly. The armors are pretty cool. I love Nif Bash stuff, and they look neat. But now you also get to have a bunch of reinforcements, different military troops that you can call in with you. I think that's super cool. Whether it's an add-on for the Minutemen or maybe you're role-playing as a gunner, however you want to do it, this is going to be pretty neat and add some fun utility to the game. So, if you want to try this one out, and any mod in this video, again, they're all linked down in the description below. While you're down there, consider checking out my Patreon. It's a great way to support me directly if you would like to do so, whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods I make on the Nexus. It is the best way to do that. Of course, this is completely optional, not something you should feel like you need to do, but for those of you who want to, that is the best way to do so. Additionally, consider dropping a like on the video if you liked it. If you did, it's the best way to support me for free. That really helps out the channel. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!